Let's talk Tanya for the 10th of Tamuz. In yesterday's Tanya, we explained that if you look in the books of the mystics, it prescribes a various amount of fasts for different sins. And we also explained that the reason for these fasts is not because these fasts constitute tshuva itself, but rather these are the gift to Hashem that follows the tshuva, which allows us to really restore the relationship to the way it was beforehand. Now the question becomes, what if someone sins multiple times? Do they have to do this entire fasting regimen multiple times or not? So as it turns out, this is a subject of a disagreement between some of the great sages. And the reasoning behind this is that we say that the fasting is instead of a korban, instead of a sacrifice. When it comes to sacrifices, there are two different kinds of sacrifices. There is a oila sacrifice, which is bought for certain types of sins. And then it doesn't, in terms of the oila sacrifice, it doesn't make a difference how many times you did the sin. You bring one sacrifice. Then there's the chata sacrifice, which that has to be brought for every single instance of when a person sinned. So the question is, do we compare the fasting to the oila? Do we compare it to the chatas? There's a difference of opinion in that. So according to one opinion, for example, using the example that the Alter Rebbe gives over here in Tanya, one of the sins that's spoken about is the intentional emission of seed. For that, the prescribed amount of fasts is 84 fasts. So if a person did that multiple times, is guilty of doing that multiple times, so then it would be 80. The question is, do they have to only fast 84 times, or is this 84 times as many times as the person did the sin? The Alter Rebbe says that the accepted compromise in this area is that we fast 3 times the regimen. So for example, 84 times 3 is 252. So if someone was guilty of that sin multiple times, even if it's 10, 20, 100 times, that person would fast 252 times. The reason for this is because the Zohar tells us that when a person sins once, you create a blemish on your soul. A second time, a greater blemish. By the time the person sins a third time, your entire soul is blemished. So therefore, it takes 3 times to undo the damage that was done to your soul. So therefore, whatever the number of fasts are prescribed for that particular sin, you do it only 3 times. Now, I imagine a lot of you are watching this or listening to this, and you're thinking, okay, I better get used to not eating ever again in my lifetime. Before you reach that conclusion, hold on, because over the next few days of the Tanya, we will address that, and it's not exactly as it seems.